Music store manager said this is too complex for beginners, but Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck were there. It was a humid Thursday afternoon in July 1983, and SoundCraft Professional Audio on Sunset Strip in West Hollywood was bustling with recording engineers, session musicians, and audio professionals seeking the latest in professional recording equipment and high-end musical instruments. The store had established itself as the premier destination for serious musicians and audio engineers who required sophisticated equipment for recording studios, professional performances, and complex musical productions. SoundCraft's reputation was built on its extensive inventory of cutting-edge audio technology, including multi-track recording consoles, professional effects processors, and advanced synthesizers that represented the forefront of 1980s music technology. The store's clientele included some of the most successful musicians and producers in the industry, who relied on SoundCraft's expertise to stay current with rapidly evolving musical technology. However, the store's recent expansion had led to the hiring of Marcus Webb, a technically knowledgeable but arrogant manager who had developed strong opinions about which customers possessed the technical competence necessary to handle sophisticated professional audio equipment. Webb's background in audio engineering had given him extensive knowledge about complex equipment, but it had also fostered a condescending attitude toward musicians whom he considered technically unsophisticated. What Webb didn't realize was that his presumptuous approach to customer evaluation was about to create one of the most embarrassing incidents in professional audio retail history, involving two of the most technically innovative guitarists of their generation. Eric Clapton had decided to visit SoundCraft Professional Audio during a break from recording sessions at a nearby studio, hoping to explore new audio processing equipment that might enhance his guitar sound for an upcoming album. At 38, Eric had become increasingly interested in the technical aspects of recording and was seeking equipment that could provide new sonic possibilities for his evolving musical expression. On this Thursday afternoon, Eric was dressed casually in jeans and a simple shirt, having come directly from a relaxed recording session. His appearance gave no obvious indication of his extensive experience with professional recording equipment or his sophisticated understanding of audio technology developed through decades of working with world-class engineers and producers. Eric's attention was immediately drawn to a state-of-the-art digital effects processor that promised revolutionary capabilities in guitar sound manipulation. The device represented the latest advancement in digital audio technology, featuring complex programming interfaces and sophisticated signal processing algorithms that could transform guitar sounds in ways previously impossible. Eric approached the effects processor display and began examining the unit with the careful attention of someone who understood both the technical specifications and musical applications of advanced audio equipment. His questions about programming capabilities, signal routing options, and integration with existing studio setups demonstrated clear technical knowledge and genuine professional interest. However, when Marcus Webb noticed Eric's interest in the expensive digital processor, his assessment of Eric's casual appearance and apparent youth led him to conclude that this customer likely lacked the technical competence necessary to handle such sophisticated professional audio equipment. Webb approached Eric with the condescending manner he typically reserved for customers whom he considered to be reaching beyond their technical capabilities. "Excuse me," Webb said, his voice carrying the tone of someone protecting complex equipment from inappropriate handling. "That's an extremely sophisticated digital processor you're examining. It requires extensive technical knowledge to program effectively, and is really designed for professional engineers and very advanced musicians."
Eric looked up from the processor, surprised by Webb's presumptuous tone, but willing to engage in what he hoped would be a productive technical discussion about the equipment's capabilities. "I'm very interested in its programming flexibility," Eric replied. "I've been working with digital effects, and I'm particularly curious about how this unit handles real-time parameter control and MIDI integration with existing studio equipment." Eric's response demonstrated clear understanding of advanced technical concepts, but Webb seemed determined to maintain his assessment that this customer was overestimating his technical abilities. "Well," Webb said with increasing condescension, "this particular processor requires a deep understanding of digital signal processing, complex programming protocols, and professional studio integration techniques. The learning curve is quite steep, and it's really intended for users who have extensive experience with sophisticated audio technology." The suggestion was delivered with barely concealed superiority, making it clear that Webb had categorized Eric as someone who should consider less complex equipment, better suited to his presumed technical limitations. Eric felt the sting of Webb's technical dismissal, but maintained his composure, recognizing that he had encountered similar attitudes when his expertise wasn't immediately apparent. "I understand that it's complex equipment," Eric said quietly. "I've been working with professional recording gear for quite a while, and I'm genuinely interested in exploring its advanced capabilities for studio applications." Webb seemed committed to redirecting Eric toward what he considered more appropriate options for someone of Eric's apparent technical level. "Look," Webb said with obvious superiority, "I've been working with professional audio equipment for years, and I can usually assess when someone has the technical background necessary for this level of complexity. This processor is really designed for established engineers and musicians who are deeply versed in digital audio technology. We have some excellent intermediate effects units that would probably be much better for developing your technical skills." Webb gestured toward a section displaying less sophisticated equipment, making his message unmistakably clear. Eric should accept his beginner status and consider purchases that Webb deemed more suitable for his presumed technical limitations. What neither Eric nor Webb realized was that this entire exchange was being observed by another customer who had entered the store shortly after Eric and was examining professional recording monitors in an adjacent section. The observer was Jeff Beck, whose innovative approach to guitar technology and effects processing had made him one of the most technically advanced musicians of his generation. Jeff had come to SoundCraft seeking new equipment for his home studio, and like Eric, he was dressed casually without obvious displays of his technical expertise or musical accomplishments. Jeff had been listening to the conversation between Eric and Webb with growing irritation at the manager's condescending treatment of a fellow musician. As someone who had pushed the boundaries of guitar technology throughout his career, Jeff was acutely sensitive to the kind of technical elitism that Webb was directing toward Eric. More importantly, Jeff recognized Eric immediately and was well aware of Eric's extensive experience with professional recording equipment and his sophisticated understanding of audio technology. The idea that Eric Clapton was being dismissed as technically incompetent by an arrogant store manager was both absurd and infuriating to someone who understood Eric's actual technical capabilities and professional experience. When Jeff heard Webb suggest that Eric should consider intermediate effects units better suited to developing your technical skills, he decided that intervention was not only appropriate but absolutely necessary. The combination of Webb's discriminatory behavior and his obvious failure to recognize Eric's true technical competence created a situation that demanded immediate correction. Jeff Beck set down the studio monitor he had been examining and walked purposefully toward where Eric and Webb were standing. His approach was deliberate, and his expression suggested that he had something important to communicate about technical competence and professional expertise. "Excuse me," Jeff said, his distinctive voice immediately commanding attention from both Eric and Webb.
I couldn't help but overhear your conversation, and I think there might be some serious misunderstanding about your customer's technical capabilities." Webb looked up, noting Jeff's presence but not immediately recognizing who was addressing him about technical competence. Eric recognized Jeff immediately and was both surprised and pleased to encounter the innovative guitarist whose technical approaches had influenced countless musicians. "This musician you're suggesting lacks the technical background for advanced equipment," Jeff continued, gesturing toward Eric, "happens to be Eric Clapton, one of the most experienced recording artists alive today, and someone whose technical knowledge of professional audio equipment spans decades of working with the world's best engineers and producers." The impact of Jeff's words on Webb was immediate and devastating. The store manager's face reflected growing horror as he realized the magnitude of his technical misjudgment. He had just dismissed Eric Clapton, one of the most experienced recording musicians in the world, as technically incompetent and unsuitable for sophisticated professional equipment. "Mr. Clapton," Webb stammered, his voice now carrying a completely different tone as he attempted to recover from his catastrophic assessment error. Eric, characteristically gracious despite the awkward situation, nodded acknowledgement of Webb's apology while extending his hand toward Jeff. "Jeff," Eric said warmly, "thank you for the technical endorsement. I appreciate you setting the record straight about professional competence, though I think Mr. Webb and I were just discussing equipment capabilities." Jeff shook Eric's hand but maintained his focus on the broader issue of technical discrimination that had prompted his intervention. "Eric," Jeff said, "what I just witnessed represents exactly the kind of technical prejudice that assumes someone's capabilities based on appearance rather than actual experience. This kind of thinking damages the entire professional audio community by creating barriers between serious musicians and the technology they need." Jeff then addressed Webb directly with the authority of someone whose technical innovations had influenced entire genres of music. "Mr. Webb, I assume you can appreciate the irony of questioning the technical competence of someone whose recording experience probably exceeds that of most audio engineers. Eric's understanding of professional equipment comes from decades of actual studio application, not just theoretical knowledge."
Webb was now thoroughly mortified, recognizing that he had managed to insult one of the most technically accomplished musicians in the world in front of Jeff Beck, whose reputation for technological innovation was legendary throughout the professional audio community. "Mr. Beck, Mr. Clapton," Webb said, his voice reflecting genuine distress and embarrassment, "I owe you both profound apologies. My assessment of technical competence was completely inappropriate, and I understand that I've demonstrated exactly the kind of prejudicial thinking that has no place in professional audio retail." Eric and Jeff recognized an opportunity to transform an unpleasant incident into an educational moment that might influence Webb's future approach to evaluating customer technical capabilities. "Mr. Webb," Eric said, "we appreciate your apology, and we hope this experience leads to reflection about how musicians and engineers of all appearances deserve respectful treatment when they demonstrate genuine technical interest and knowledge." Jeff nodded his agreement and added, "Professional audio should be about advancing music technology and supporting serious musicians in their creative work, not about making assumptions based on how someone presents themselves." The remainder of Eric and Jeff's time at SoundCraft Professional Audio became an educational experience for everyone involved. Webb, thoroughly chastened by his error, provided detailed technical information about his inventory and demonstrated extensive knowledge about equipment capabilities and applications. Eric did indeed examine and ultimately purchase the digital effects processor that had initially attracted his attention, along with several other pieces of professional equipment that met his specific technical requirements. Jeff also made substantial purchases, finding equipment that complemented his innovative approach to guitar technology.
The encounter provided Eric and Jeff with an opportunity to discuss their shared experiences with technical innovation and their approaches to integrating new technology with musical creativity. Their conversation revealed mutual respect for each other's technical accomplishments and similar philosophies about the relationship between technology and musical expression. The story of Eric Clapton's encounter with technical discrimination at SoundCraft Professional Audio and Jeff Beck's decisive intervention on his behalf quickly became one of the professional audio community's most frequently told anecdotes. The incident served as a powerful reminder that technical competence could not be judged by superficial appearances, and that the music technology community's strength lay in supporting serious musicians regardless of how they presented themselves.
For Marcus Webb, the experience became a transformative moment that fundamentally changed his approach to evaluating customer technical capabilities. He began focusing on customers' actual knowledge and professional questions, rather than their appearance or obvious credentials, and he became known for treating all musicians and engineers with the respect that their technical interest deserved. The friendship between Eric and Jeff, strengthened by this shared experience of confronting technical discrimination together, continued to develop through subsequent collaborations and mutual support within the professional audio community. Their bond, forged in that moment of standing up against technical prejudice, influenced both of their approaches to music technology and their continued advocacy for inclusive practices within the professional audio industry. SoundCraft Professional Audio implemented significant policy changes following the incident, establishing guidelines for staff behavior that emphasized respectful treatment of all customers based on their technical questions and genuine interest, rather than superficial assessments. The store's transformation became a model for other professional audio retailers, demonstrating how negative incidents could create positive changes throughout the music technology community. Sometimes the most important lessons about technical respect and professional competence come when established artists use their influence to defend others facing unfair treatment based on superficial appearance assumptions and widespread social prejudice. The digital effects processor that Eric purchased became integral to his 1980s recordings, validating his technical assessment and demonstrating Webb's initial misjudgment about his competence. Jeff Beck continued advocating for inclusive practices throughout the professional audio community, often referencing the SoundCraft incident when discussing evaluating competence based on knowledge rather than appearance. Marcus Webb's transformation became legendary within West Hollywood's music community. He implemented staff training focused on technical discussion, making SoundCraft known for welcoming all customers. Sometimes the most important and lasting lessons come when established artists courageously defend others facing unfair treatment based on superficial appearance assumptions and widespread social prejudice.